Over on the Infectious Groove Podcast, we recently did a topic about our top 5 soundtracks of all time. So Lauren's going to carry that topic over here to the YouTube channel and share with you 5 great soundtracks coming right up. Hey everybody, it is Russ and Lauren from the Infectious Groove YouTube channel here. And you know when they have soundtracks and it's like music from and inspired by the motion. So this video you're going to see is a video from and inspired by a podcast episode.
That's true.
Yeah, because over on the Infectious Groove Podcast, I recently had our friends from the Docking Bay podcast on to do, now that one was a straight ranking video. Like myself and Dayton sat down to do what we think are our personal top 5 soundtracks of all time. This one today is more generic. You're just sharing 5 great soundtracks.
5 more that as I was listening to your podcast, which is very weird for me because I wasn't there when you recorded it, and then I find myself talking back to you. Anyway, these are 5 that popped into my head when I was listening to y'all have your soundtrack conversation.
Yeah.
So the first one is the soundtrack from Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
And
which I think could be divisive in some parts for the renditions of things that are on there.
But it's not divisive for me. I can't extrapolate like what I'm hearing from what I saw in that movie. And that movie was just so visually stunning that I just love everything about the soundtrack. You know, Ewan McGregor's version of your song. Oh, by
divisive, I mean that I feel like somebody is going to hear it and either love it or hate it immediately with what goes on there. And then, of course, there was the enormous hit of the Lady Marmalade cover, too.
Yes. Yeah. That was so much fun.
Kicking us off strong and then going to go extra strong for your second one.
Going extra strong, yeah. The soundtrack to Forrest Gump, which is it's a double album soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it's basically
2 CDs, 3 LPs.
Oh, so great.
Yeah.
It's just a retrospective of music from like the 50s through the late 70s. And it's just everything I like. Everything from Elvis, the Mamas and the Papas, and the Beach Boys are on there, and you've got Fleetwood Mac, and I'm just like, this is just great. It definitely is one of those soundtracks that puts you in a time. And that's exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. If you've ever seen the movie, which most people have, when you hear those songs back in the context of it's not just when you hear Elvis, early 50s Elvis, that doesn't make you go, oh, Forrest Gump. But when you listen to it in the context of the running order of the soundtrack, you can remember exactly where in the story it is because of the time that the music was released, right? The next one, we just watched a special about this film the other day, and now you're going to talk about the soundtrack. So what we do is everything but watch the movie.
Right.
No, but we both happen to love this movie.
It's the soundtrack to Man on the Moon. The Andy Kaufman biopic, and I had this on CD around the time that it came out because I loved that REM track, The Great Beyond, and I got the whole thing. This is a weird soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
it's very weird.
It's a mix of score and and then
a mix of score and music, and they throw the actual Andy Kaufman in there, and I think it's just great. I remember it being super fun. I got that Rosemary stuck in my head so many times in high school. I'm just like, yep.
I know the movie is named Man on the Moon after the REM song. But me personally, I think The Great Beyond is such a better song than Man on the Moon. So it's like I have to buy the soundtrack named after another REM album in order to get an REM song that I love more that's also about Andy Kaufman.
Right.
Yeah. But I love that. And then on top of that, the main score of the film works in the orchestrations from The Great Beyond, which I love. So
it's brilliantly it's disjointed and seamless at the same time.
Right. Which is Andy Kaufman.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. The next one, you're cheating.
I am cheating.
I am telling everybody that's watching this video, you're cheating.
I don't care. It's both Guardians of the Galaxy soundtracks.
Cheetah.
I cheated.
Cheetah.
I couldn't pick. But here's the thing. So the first one came out in 2014, the second one in 2017, and I was hosting bar trivia a lot around that time. And I would throw in stuff that I liked. I'd play Fox on the Run by Sweet or Go All the Way by the Raspberries. And there were kids that knew these songs. And I'm like, how?
Right.
How? Because I hadn't seen the
What
Guardians.
What sorcery is this? Who
exactly.
Who told you?
And so I remember I'm hosting trivia, I'm playing the music that I like, and I go up to these parents and I was like, how do your kids know like this Raspberry song. They're like, oh, it's on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
Right.
And I'm like, what now? So then I checked out the track listing and I was like, did somebody make this for me?
Like, who did this?
Who did this?
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, ELO is on one of them with Mr. Blue Sky, and it's just
Yeah.
like, come on. Like, I should have made these. Like, it's like I made these.
Right. So as I clearly stated when we got to that pick, you cheated. I mean, I don't cheat on the channel, but whatever. You're going from a dastardly cheating to picking one that I think is a super underdog of a pick. This last one that you're going to share is such a great soundtrack.
Yes.
And I don't think most people think of it now. I think when it came out, it made a big splash, and more people should think of it now.
Yes, it's true. The soundtrack to I Am Sam, and it's a bunch of Beatles covers, and there's some brilliant Beatles covers on there. Rufus Wainwright, Across the Universe, Eddie Vedder, You Got to Hide Your Love Away. I mean, the whole thing is fantastic.
When I heard Fiona Apple do Across the Universe for the movie Pleasantville, and I never thought that I'd hear a better cover of Across the Universe until I heard Rufus Wainwright do Across the Universe. And I will say, when we've talked about this on the channel before, Rufus's voice is, you either love it or hate it. So there may be people that are like, no. I like Fiona's, but I like that. And I'm going out on a limb here because I didn't look up the track listing before we did this, but I believe Sarah McLachlan does a good version of Blackbird on the soundtrack as well. Yeah. And then that Eddie Vedder cover of You Gotta Hide Your Love Away. It's one of those things where if you'd asked me if Eddie Vedder was going to do a Beatles cover, I would have been like, I don't think he'll fit any Beatles. And then as soon as you hear him doing You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, you're like, oh, yeah, that's exactly the song he should do.
It made total sense. Yeah. His vocal inflections on it are just so like perfect.
And if you're one of those people who, and this is understandable, if you're like, nobody can do good Beatles covers, I would say at least check the soundtrack out and see what you think of some of the stuff on there. It's good. The Black Crowes do Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It's a diverse, really good soundtrack. So, like I said, we covered this topic on our podcast recently, and we wanted to bring it over to the YouTube channel. So, just like the episode of the podcast got a bunch of feedback, I'm sure Lauren's picks will as well. You probably have some great favorite soundtracks as well. So please make sure to use the comment section below and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of her picks, and share some of your own. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.